football edition, the Minecraft edition of fantasy football. If you're a gamer, Minecraft fan, if you like building something like this, need a little bit of help, I got my Twitch information below. Feel free to hit me up there, ask me any questions you like. I'm going to be doing videos on how I made this, but that's not why we're here today. We're here to discuss fantasy football in the upcoming drafts. And the most asked question when it comes to these drafts, and that question is obviously, who do I pick with my first pick? And I kind of go a little bit deeper than that. I kind of go down to who my first 5 picks going to be and how that's going to shape my draft out. So the first question that we're going to come across here as I enter my little draft room here. Yes, I'm in a draft room in Minecraft. I don't use pen and paper. It kind of brings the realistic vibe to it. Kind of fun. So the first thing I want to know is, what league are you drafting in? What kind of league are you drafting in? Is it a PPR league, which is points per reception, or is it a non-PPR? You know, how many people are going to be in your league? I mean, you can have anywhere from 6 to 8 to 10, 12, even up to 16. So, and now we got to go with, well, what position are you drafting? Is it a snake draft? You know, how well do you know the people that are drafting in your league? You know, I know a pretty good amount of information from the people that play in mine, since I've played with them for almost 14 years now. So I'll get into that here in just a second. But the most important thing is, what is going to be the most coveted position as it pertains to your league and its rules. So for me, you know, I'm not ordinary. I play in a 14-team league, snake draft. So, and I started out at the number 9 pick. I traded up to the number 2 pick. So there's a couple of things that I can do with that pick. I can shoot myself in the foot, or I can make a wise decision and build on the positions that are really the most prized in the league. So when it comes down to the rules, quarterbacks, you got 25 yards for a point, and of course all scoring is 6 points, you know, for touchdowns. So you'll have 25 yards, 1 point, 1 point for every 10 yards for your running backs and wide receivers, as well as half a point for each reception when it comes to the tight ends, running backs, wide receivers. So, of course, with tight ends too, it goes the same rules apply. So I got the number 2 pick in the draft. The one thing that I want to look at is who's going to be there by my second round pick, which would be pick number 27. So if I got guys making 1 point for every 10 yards that they rush and a half a point for every catch that they make, would it be wise for me to pick a running back or a receiver or a quarterback with my number 1 pick? Obviously it's going to be your running back. Extremely coveted position. Not too deep when it comes to the level of elite running backs. I mean, you've got Saquon Barkley, McCaffrey, Kamara, Elliott, all the way down to Devontae Freeman. I think he's ranked 24th overall right now. But these are your frontline guys right now. So if I pick a quarterback first, let's say I decide I go Patrick Mahomes with my number 2 pick, how many of these guys are going to be left over by the time my 27th pick rolls around? All these guys are going to be off the board. You know, maybe Freeman will be left. Maybe Todd Gurley. You know, the concerns over his knee. So I got to pay attention to that. But if I choose a running back first, if I choose a Barkley or a McCaffrey, who's going to be left here? I can still guarantee you by the time it rolls around, I'll have maybe at least 3 of these guys to choose from, as compared to probably nobody from right here. And you only need 1 of these guys in your lineup. You need 2 roster slots, well, 2 starting slots for these guys, and 2 for these guys, and 1 for these guys. So it wouldn't be wise to go quarterback number 1. You can go for depth later. I mean, there's guys on this list right here that make an impact that, like, let's say Kirk Cousins, for instance. Bad year last year, but I think he's going to rebound. So there's always going to be a guy there later on in the draft that you can pick up that's still going to put up good numbers, and that's going to, help bolster, your total when you've got guys like McCaffrey on your team, possibly combined with a Freeman. So what I'm going to do, with my second overall pick, I hope nobody from my league is watching. I doubt that they are. Um, obviously the choice is to go running back. I mean, that is our main position. We do have some people in the league who draft quarterbacks first, and if they're up in the draft, like 1, 2, or 3, they're going to screw the whole draft up if they choose a quarterback. The guy who was originally 2, I know he's a Packers fan. He loves him some Aaron Rodgers. I know that's more than likely who he was going to go for, so the wise decision for him was to trade back, so he found a good trading partner in me. So what we're going to do, more than likely, I know the number 1 guy is going to be Barkley. He's going to go number 1. The guy drafting has already hinted at it. He's made it clear, save Le'Veon Bell for number 28 so I can have the New York running backs. I mean, that's a dead giveaway. So the first one for me is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Number 1, great runner, and he's also a pass catcher. Great yardage, great receptions. He's playing on a team that has a semi-good defense. There's not going to be, many blowouts where he's going to get pulled and you're going to lose that potential for points. So McCaffrey is a clear-cut number 1 for me. Boom, he goes number 1. So by the time the second round rolls around, I'm at the tail end. Everybody's going to be gone here, maybe with the exception of Devontae Freeman. I know Hopkins, Beckham, Schuster, Smith-Schuster, Jones, all these guys are going to be gone. I'm thinking maybe Thielen and Diggs are going to be around. Thielen with his 100 yards a game potential, the receptions that he gets, that'd be a good choice for number 2. But also I'm looking at Devontae Freeman. I think with the quarterbacks that are going to be taken early and with the receivers that are going to be taken early, the running backs are still, despite all these guys being gone, you're still going to be left with a few options like Freeman, maybe Gurley. People are going to get scared off by him. Maybe even Sony Michel. You got to look at him. Other running backs, Leonard Fournette, you can get in the 3rd round, I'm sure. He had a bad year last year, and that kind of dropped his value big time. But I'm trying to think of more. Aaron Jones would be a good one. Kerryon Johnson would be a good one. I'm sure Josh Jacobs would be there, but he's unproven. I wouldn't be one to take a 2nd round risk on him. So, if Freeman's there, I take him. If not, you go for Thielen or you go for Diggs. You go for the receptions. And 3rd round, I'm still not taking a quarterback. I'm going to come over here, and I may start considering my tight ends a little bit. I know Kelsey's going to be gone. I know Ertz is going to be gone. George Kittle might be there. Garoppolo's been saying he's more like Rob Gronkowski in size. My dark horse here is going to be Eric Ebron with Andrew Luck coming back. Ebron had a good year with Indianapolis last year. Would not go for Evan Ingram. I may go for Jared Cook. I would not go for O.J. Howard. I wouldn't trust anybody on that Tampa team. They get hot and then they get cold. I'm not a fan. So Hunter Henry's coming back, and I think Hunter Henry's going to actually cut into Melvin Gordon's production because with Hunter out last year, Gordon was the primary pass catcher out of the backfield, so now with Hunter back, that's going to cut into his catches. So Melvin Gordon wouldn't be too high on my list. So Hunter Henry would be a good option in the later rounds, maybe 5th or 6th round if you're looking for it. But so obviously 1st round pick is going to be McCaffrey. You come around to the 27th pick, I got to think Devontae Freeman's going to be there. So you got your running backs. You're going to need depth with your running backs. It's a hard position. It seems like a shallow position because once you get past like the 20th ranked running backs, you're kind of depleted, and with the running backs being more prone to injury, you're going to need as many quality running backs as you can, because if they go, your whole team goes. So I'm not going to worry about quarterbacks until about round 5. But in the meantime, I'll be picking up, one guy who's not on this list right here on the wide receivers. You got to look at Tyler Lockett, new number 1 receiver in Seattle. He's going to be taking over for Baldwin, who had to retire from the NFL due to injuries. And yeah, so there's that for you. There's a dark horse for you, maybe in the 4th round, 5th round. I had him last year. He did great for me, and they said he's going to be even better this year. And so, I'm mixing and matching running backs and wide receivers for my first couple of rounds, and then maybe hit on a tight end before it gets too late. Then I'll come back around and complete my team with a decent quarterback. Maybe a Carson Wentz. I mean, that's one name I didn't mention. I wouldn't pick a Dak Prescott. I don't think he's ready. He isn't at that stage yet. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo. Got to see how that ACL does. You can get him in the later rounds. But once you get down to, you want to make sure you don't get down too late where it's like, oh, you got to pick Mariota or Darnold or maybe Derek Carr. That's going to definitely drive down the value of Antonio Brown. And that's one thing I want to hit on too. Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. You had two guys who were part of a great offensive system in Pittsburgh. And now we have Le'Veon Bell ranked number 5 right now, with what I'm looking at. To me, you put James Conner in Le'Veon Bell's spot in Pittsburgh, and he does just the same amount of work, does the same amount of damage. And that got me thinking, that's probably not entirely a Le'Veon Bell thing. It was a Pittsburgh thing. It was what they had set up on offense. Now he goes to New York, where he doesn't have that offense that's going to spread the defense out, where you have the 2 dynamic receivers, and you have Big Ben at center. I mean, you had a complete offense. Now you are the offense. You got Darnold behind center. Le'Veon Bell is going to be good this year, obviously, but he's not going to be top 5 good. I wouldn't even pick him until, I wouldn't even say top 10. I'm going to go out on a limb here saying James Conner's going to have a better year than Le'Veon Bell is, just because of the system. So I would put Conner at the 5 spot and maybe put Bell more down towards the 10th, maybe right before Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's going to have a good year, I think. His rookie season was pretty decent. But expecting big things for him in Cincinnati this year. I got Devontae Freeman coming back healthy. So, not to get off point here about who to pick in your draft and whatnot, but let's say you're the number 2 pick overall in the 14-team PPR league, as opposed to being the number 5 out of an 8-team league with non-PPR. You're going to draft a little bit differently. Just a term of the value in points, and how many points, how many yards is your running back going to have or wide receiver going to have before they get a point compared to your quarterback. You just have to look at the rules and see what fits you the best. I mean, obviously, when you only get 1 point for every 25 yards as opposed to 10, you got to go for that. And obviously, it's easier to go for the running back because you got maybe 1 running back or 2 on the field, as opposed to 3 or 4 at the same time. So he can pick and choose here, but you're basically the main guy here, so you gotta go with the main. And that was weird. I think there's somebody in my stadium, but oh well. So yeah, if you're drafting in any league, honestly, either PPR or not, I mean, you'd be crazy not to go these 4 guys first. If Elliott makes his if he comes back from Cabo and decides to join training camp with the Dallas Cowboys, it's a formidable 4 right there. There shouldn't be anybody else taken other than these 4 guys. And then you can kind of, mix and match from there. So basically that's my 2 cents on it. Go for the coveted position, and in most cases it's going to be a running back. Stock up, get depth. And then maybe go for the wide receivers. Pick the wide receivers that have a terrible defense, who are on teams with terrible defenses. If Beckham was with the Giants still, I mean, it would be a great year for him, because I think the Giants' defense is going to be god-awful. You just want the guys who are going to be out there for the full 60, whose defense is going to keep them in production. I think Michael Thomas would be a good fit there. I think Smith-Schuster, Julio Jones, obviously, because Atlanta's defense is always getting hurt. So a little secret for me is always pick the wide receivers that don't have the good defenses. Case in point, Devontae Adams. You want the games being close. You want your guys, being productive all throughout the game. And I'm predicting Kelce and Ertz will go in the first 2 rounds. I think that may be a little bit too early for tight ends, but they do give you wide receiver production. And since the receivers do go in the first couple of rounds, it may be wise to take a tight end just for the fact that tight ends are pretty shallow. Now, I'll show you over here. I got 07 and 17. I've been in this league actually since 2006, and in 7 and 17, ended up winning the championship. And both those years, I had a decent tight end. So tight ends go a long way. People tend to overlook it, but can you imagine having a wide receiver in a tight end spot? That's what Kelce and Ertz kind of give you. That's what George Kittle might give you. That's definitely what Jared Cook's going to give you in New Orleans. So you just don't want you want that tight end that's going to be heavily involved in the offensive schemes that are going to give you the points. That way you don't have any holes in your team, because as much as you want to stock up here, you want to make sure that you balance it out. So it's all about balance, not being too top heavy. Know when to draft your quarterbacks, and know when to draft your tight ends. These two, in my opinion, are the 2 most important spots on any PPR team. And they can bring up the rear. They can bring up the rear. They're complementary to these 2 positions when it comes to that. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I think we've got that covered, don't you think? Again, that's just my opinion. Take it or leave it. I'm going back to my stadium, and once again, I'll have my Twitch information below if you want to learn how to make this. I'll be creating more videos on YouTube on how to do it. So that's it. That's all. I thank you all for watching, and good luck in your drafts. I know I'm going to need it.